everybody. Welcome to yet another stream. We made it for 3 this week. A couple of things off the bat. Yes, The Bear was just renewed apparently for 2 more seasons. They're filming back to back, so that's very exciting news. We were just talking about The Bear the other day. And then also, I saw some of you asking me or asking about Invincible. And the problem with Invincible is that while I've seen all the new episodes and I had planned to cover it, they really messed me up. Oh, hey, Ryan. Hey, Lady Jennifer Snow. Thank you so much for your generosity. But what happened is that they really put me in a bad. Let me a little close there. I'm still setting up the new setup, but I got the squares back for today. I got the boxes back. All right. So anyway, Invincible came out 8 hours early. They decided to switch to a midnight drop time, but not on Thursday at midnight, for a Friday drop basically, but on Wednesday. And that just, I didn't have enough time to get it up in time to get the breakdown. And I really feel they've messed up that show. Look, Mark Burns didn't even remember it was on. It was incredible. It was an incredible episode, and I just feel bad about the way it's been handled. I hope that The Boys sticks with the Amazon drop time of 8 p.m. I think dropping at 8 p.m. on Thursday night worked really well for them. It was the second best drop time after HBO's Sunday night 9 p.m. drop time. So I don't know what's going to happen with that show. They've already renewed it, and they're already working on the 3rd season. But I really feel like it just has lost its audience, which is too bad. Because, again, it's incredible. I mean, the whole season's just absolutely phenomenal. Thanks, Kevin. You guys are all so kind. I was so nervous about this new camera. It's been really scary. And so I appreciate all your very nice comments. And it's never too nice outside for thumb holes, baby. Thumb holes, I love them so much. Thanks, Big League Chew. All right, so we're going to get started. You can ask me, questions. I might not answer them until I've opened up each section 2 questions, and then at the end of the stream, of course, is the Ask Me Anything time. The shirt, Kaylin, this is a Trina Turk. It's actually a swim shirt. Swim shirts have the thumb holes. Swim shirts and athletic shirts tend to be I like the form fitting and the thumb hole athletic, basically like a superhero look. That's what I like. So I try to get that groove on. But that's generally what I'm looking for. There's also a new thanks Nintendard. There's a new trend of something called mesh shirts. They're a little see-through, so you got to be careful with them, but they're pretty good for on camera. But I like mesh shirts as well. They also tend to have a lot of thumb holes. All right, let's get on to today's stories. I love everybody's energy. I'm glad you guys are ready to party. All right. Also, by the way, I just have a little bit of stuff going on, so I haven't been doing as much this week and probably next week. But then after that, I'll be back in the groove. So I just, I'm still around. I'm definitely going to break down X-Men because I know for sure when that's dropping. And I'm excited actually to talk to you guys about that show when we can. All righty, I'm still under a review embargo. Yes, as Poke pointed out, if you could like this video, maybe subscribe. That would be really nice. Adam Byers, we will do polls today, and I did see your poll yesterday, but I didn't agree with the suggestion, so that's why I didn't do it. All right, here we go. Story number 1. They're back. Boop. Oh, and they're new. They're new. I put a little glow on them. I put a little glow so that I think they look even better. But yeah, because I couldn't find the old ones. I had to make new ones. Hey, Wiki Nomad. Thanks for gifting those memberships. I had to make new squares. It just took a second, but I was like, as long as I'm making new ones, why don't I spiffy them up a little bit? Hey, Mariah. All right, story number 1. Patty Jenkins, she's back. I can't believe she's back. I don't know. It's interesting. I will just say that they reached out to Lucasfilm because, Patty Jenkins tooted her own horn. She was probably like, why hasn't anybody announced my deal over from Lucasfilm? I better do it myself. So she was on this podcast and she was like, I'm making Rogue Squadron. And apparently some of the trades reached out to Lucasfilm and they were like, is that true? And Lucasfilm was like, new phone, who dis? Don't ask us. Apparently this deal was finally closed right before the strike. So, I mean, if it is a real situation, I guess that my guess would be that Patty Jenkins is behind it. Because Patty Jenkins is like, hey, let's get a female filmmaker in here. Although that's really biting her in the butt so far with this Ray movie. I think there's a pretty good hook on it because Patty Jenkins' father in real life was a fighter pilot during the Vietnam War. Although obviously I think, very different experience. Well, I'm sure there are some constants, but I think, a little bit of a different pace to the situation. Hey, Mark Burns, thanks for gifting a membership. And so, I mean, just because a deal is in place, I mean, Patty Jenkins is definitely going to get paid for a screenplay. The movie's still not necessarily going to get made. I think it's a very good idea for a movie. I'm getting a little ahead of myself. All right, so let me put the poll in. You guys can vote while we talk, okay? I promised you a poll. Poll. Are you still up for a Patty Jenkins Rogue Squadron movie? Hells yeah. Then I'll consider it. That's very nice of you. And then Rogue Squadron with another director. And then no thank you. Hey AJ, I like your picture. All right. That's a very nice picture, AJ. Okay. By the way, anyone can vote in a poll. Only members can join the chat, but anybody can vote in a poll, just so you know. All right, so what happened? Patty Jenkins explained it as she was supposed to make Wonder Woman 3, and that had created a conflict so that she couldn't do Rogue Squadron. So that's why her deal fell apart or was put on hold. But then once Wonder Woman 3 fell apart, she was like, I can still make Rogue Squadron. And pre-strike, Lucasfilm closed that deal. And so she was saying on the podcast that she needs to turn in a draft. You're like, Patty, what else you got going on, Patty? How was this draft again not ready to go as soon as the strike was over? Or if she wants to not have written during the strike has been over for a long time at this point, I would think she would have a draft in there. I mean, if you're a really good screenwriter, you can get a play or at least a first draft in, I think, like in a month. I think you should be able to do it if you're really a professional. Certainly in the amount of time that it has taken. I mean, she seems like she hasn't even freaking started back up on it. She's like, oh yeah, I should work on that. And you're like, Patty, you better get it in there before they change their mind again. So Rogue Squadron, a Lone Wolf Media, I'm glad you want to see redemption for Patty. I'd be really surprised if she gets it, but I would be happy. I mean, hey, I'd love to report on a banger movie, but I'm just as easy to report on a flop. For me, it honestly does not matter for me. I'm like, it's going to be funny no matter what. All right, so Rogue Squadron. Now, of course, one of my favorite sequences of all time in a Star Wars movie is the end of Rogue One, the third act aerial battle. That's incredible. I love that. I had goosebumps watching that. I still love it every time I see it to this day. I remember seeing Rogue One again a second time. I actually went just with my dad. I forget why. It was just with my, was it? Yeah, I think it was, yeah. And I was like, are you seeing this? Isn't this incredible? He was not that impressed. But I do remember sitting there being just like, look, do you see the magic that's happening? So that was great. Star Wars, of course, is famous for aerial battles in space. They're really good. So doing an entire movie like that seems like a no-brainer to me. It's, of course, based on a popular video game called Rogue Squadron. But that's right, Ben 10, Top Gun in space. But here's a problem for the movie. Top Gun already exists. And currently, Top Gun Maverick was an incredible film. Absolutely incredible. And they're getting ready to make Top Gun 3. Because Top Gun Maverick made $1 billion. As it should. It was an incredible film. But how on earth, although I have to say, Who would have ever thought Joseph Kosinski could direct a good Top Gun movie after he directed a lot of crap? So it can be done. Joseph Kosinski came back hardcore. I mean, it's amazing what a good job he did on that movie, although Christopher McQuarrie helped him out considerably. Serious assist from Christopher McQuarrie. All right, so the question is, does Patty Jenkins have any commercial instincts whatsoever? I'm not sure. She was fired off of Thor, remember? Thor, The Dark World. She was supposed to do Thor 2, fired over creative differences. The movie didn't turn out anyway, but they didn't want to work with her. And then she got rid of everybody from Zack Snyder's team for Wonder Woman 1984 because she was like, I can do it myself. I want to do it my own way. And they were like, okay. And then she fell flat on her face. So I'm concerned about her the choices that she makes as a creative person in a blockbuster commercial space. Like, honestly, I'd be like, apparently a lot of studio executives don't like to ask the tough questions. But I honestly would say, hey, Patty, now that Wonder Woman 1984 came out, and it was received so poorly and did so poorly, and really has no champion. No one's championing it. I enjoyed parts of it. I had a fine time watching it, but I wouldn't defend that movie, okay? You know, like there are some movies where I'm like, it was beautiful. You just didn't get it, man. Like Speed Racer. I'll defend that movie to this day. But I'd honestly say, hey, Patty, what are your thoughts on that? And if she was willing to own up to it, and if Patty Jenkins was like, if she had said she said she really messed up, then I'd be like, okay, all right, Patty, everybody gets one foul. Let me see your storyboards, but I'm still going to watch you like a hawk. I'm going to watch you so closely, Patty. I'm going to be your shadow. I'm going to be like, let me see your storyboards. What are your plans? What is your business plan? I mean, this stuff is all really, really important. So I guess I just really have very little faith in her to deliver. That's what I'm really, really nervous about. So that's the thing. I mean, Wonder Woman was a great movie. I'll defend Wonder Woman all day long. But I don't really know how much Patty Jenkins was responsible for it after seeing Wonder Woman 1984. All right, does anybody have... So that's my thoughts on this. So my thoughts, to reiterate, are... Let's see if it even still gets made. But she's at least going to get paid for a script, right? Jake says, I liked Wonder Woman 1984, but Patty Jenkins doesn't inspire the confidence that Star Wars needs. That's a good thing. That's a good point. Star Wars does not need more divisiveness, and I don't think that Patty Jenkins is really a uniter. I'd be like, don't say any bad comments about the male fans, Patty. I'm begging you. I'm begging you. You love everyone, Patty. You love everyone. Oh, is Chris Pine available to be a pilot? All right, so, although I don't know, I think Chris Pine might have passed. I think he might have, his days, I love Chris Pine, but I think his days might be, kind of like maybe done. All right, so anyway, I don't know if it's necessarily even still going to get made, but she's still going to get paid for a script. I don't trust Patty Jenkins from a commercial standpoint anymore. And I like the idea of the movie quite a bit, but I wouldn't let Patty Jenkins anywhere near it. Maybe they're in love with the idea of the selling point of her father's history, which I can understand. That's a beautiful selling point. But I mean, it doesn't matter. It's just going to make everybody feel bad if the movie isn't good. All right, let me close the poll. All right, so 38% of you will consider this movie with Patty Jenkins directing. 35% of you don't want it at all. That's surprising. You guys must just be against Star Wars. Hells yeah, 15%. And then just 10% would like to see the movie with another director. Well, I mean, it's really, yeah. I mean, this is interesting. It's pretty. The results are kind of all over the place, but I feel like, for the most part, I think this movie's not really what Star Wars needs. Maria says Star Wars needs Sean Levy. That's an interesting point. I gotta say though, speaking of a glow up as a director, I never would have thought Sean Levy had Free Guy in him or this Deadpool Wolverine movie. I mean, Sean Levy, the directing on Deadpool and Wolverine, at least so far with that first teaser, looked phenomenal to me. Some of you are okay if she just directs it, I'm seeing. Mad Jax defends himself. He says he likes Star Wars. He just doesn't like this pitch. What's the problem with Top Gun in space? How could you have a problem with that? I mean, it's no Mando and Grogu movie. I'll give you that. Mando and Grogu, you're like, give it to me now. Give it to me now. That's a Schwarzenegger quote, right? Give it to me now. Free Guy was overrated. Bozzolini, when is the last time you saw that? It was fantastic. Juan just wants to see Patty succeed. That's real nice, Juan. I'm glad she has someone like you in her corner. That's easy for you to say, says it's no Andor. Nobody watched Andor. I mean, it got a lot of attention. You know, I thought Andor was 50% brilliant, 50% a snooze fest. And so we'll see how the next 2 seasons shape up. Or just one more season, right? Yeah, whatever. Hey, Greg says it feels like male directors get multiple chances and female directors don't. I don't know about that. I mean, I don't think that's necessarily true. Meaning male directors can even have multiple flops in a row and nobody questions their ability to make movies and keep giving them opportunities. I don't think that's true, Greg. I think I can see why it seems true to you. But I mean, just look at how Taika Waititi got taken out. I mean, he's done. Done. The only reason that Next Goal Wins came out, which was actually a pretty good movie, was because he'd already made it. I mean, yeah. I mean, sometimes people keep getting work. That's for sure. Any other questions or comments about this story before we boop on to the next one? Let's boop on out of here. Oh, I love you too, CM. All right, you guys are ready to boop. Let's boop. Let's boop, baby. Story number 2. Boop. I like this one. It's a business one. Oh, let's talk about people's salaries or their paydays. Variety is going through people's bank accounts. Variety, this is like a new thing Variety has. They're like, let's look up and see how much everybody got paid. And I'm enjoying it, so I want to talk about it in context. All right, so I just want to remind you, by the way, that salaries, just because somebody gets paid a lot of money doesn't mean they keep all of it, right? As we've discussed before, a chunk of it goes to your agent, your manager, lawyers, publicists, stylists, assistants. You might run your own company, and then you have to pay even more people if, the studio isn't covering your expenses. Then don't forget taxes. That's why Mark Wahlberg moved to Las Vegas. So, don't assume that someone's taking home this entire check, all right? Just keep that in mind. I mean, it's still a significant amount of money, okay? But it is not the whole shebang. All right, so also what the thing to me is the most interesting here is that we're finally seeing a new level of stars arise. We've been waiting for a long time. We're like, where are the stars? Where's the new generation? And it's been taking a long time, but they're finally starting to gel in front of and behind the camera with Christopher Nolan. In fact, Christopher Nolan continues to change the business in many, many ways. And here is yet another one. And then when we talk about actors in the second half of this story, it's going to be Chalamet. And also, we got some information on Glenn Powell, what Glenn Powell's getting paid. And let me tell you, it's more than I ever would have imagined. Hollywood's an incredible business. It really is like gambling and winning the lottery. If you can just hang in long enough, you can, it's really sad. I wish that they were a little bit more transparent about the fact that most actors cannot make a living. Like most of SAG cannot make a living. Mr. Poppy, you ruined it. Mr. Poppy, I appreciate your enthusiasm, but dude. All right, so anyway, so most actors have to have at least a second job or something like that because they can't afford to make ends meet. And so you're waiting for that big payday, that payday in the sky. But it hardly ever happens to anybody. Acting is I think that influences the type of people who become actors because it's such a crapshoot, By the way, I just want to say on a side note, I know that everybody wants to be an actor because it seems like, although I'm glad to see that's changing, because we're more savvy. We talk about all kinds of people who are involved in the industry. Oh, Mr. Pappy, don't worry about it. Okay, so anyway, I think that you should always just, there's a lot of great jobs in Hollywood. Many of them far more financially stable than actor. So you should always just try and think about that when you're considering what your opportunities might be. Not that you can't try to be an actor, but, try to be realistic about it. Whether or not it's working. I think that if you want to be an actor, you'll know in a couple of years whether or not you might, you're getting any traction. If you're not getting any traction whatsoever, I think maybe you should consider maybe something else in the industry. You don't have to leave, but maybe acting just isn't for you. All right, so let's talk about Christopher Nolan. Now, before it had been reported that he made $72 million off of Oppenheimer, but he made more because he had Oscar bonuses. I love his contract. It's incredible. And it also teaches you about, and Nolan, by the way, I just want to say up front, Nolan deserves all this money. Okay? Oh, Danielle, you're a writer. That's awesome. So I think Nolan's payday is totally deserved. But he had to deliver. He just didn't get this for doing nothing. He had to hit points, which is often how a deal is structured. So Christopher Nolan had an Oscar bonus built into his contract. Maybe it was per Oscar. He got 2 of them. As you can see, he's holding them both right there. He's holding 2 checks, baby. So he got all the way up to $100 million. They said it's even a little bit more than $100 million. That's incredible. Margot Robbie got $50 million off of Barbie, not 20. All right, so we'll talk about Margot. Even if she had Oscar bonuses, she didn't collect. All right, so anyway. All right, let's talk about this $100 million payday for Christopher Nolan. So first off, yes, I do want to talk about Margot Robbie. I mentioned this yesterday. Margot Robbie walked away with $50 million. Now, I totally get why there's a discrepancy in what they got. Christopher Nolan is far further into his career as a blockbuster filmmaker, and he had more leverage because he was leaving Warner Brothers, and Universal really wanted him. So they gave him what he wanted, and he wanted a lot. And hey, $50 million is nothing to sneeze at, okay? That's fantastic for Margot Robbie. But I did say, as I said yesterday, that I thought it was interesting that even though her movie made more, she ended up getting 50% of what Christopher Nolan did. She did get points, you guys. Nobody gets $50 million up front. Margot Robbie's payday was a certain amount of money up front, and then she got a bonus based on the performance of the box office. Most big-name talent will be asked to take points. I think most people can't get more than $20 million up front. It's very unusual to get more than 20, certainly not more than $30 million up front. I think, gotta tell you, for the most part, you can only really get 20 up front. That's the highest I think I've ever seen anybody go. But then you get back-end participation. Now, you have to be smart enough to say that you want points off the top. If you say you want a percentage of the profit, there's funny accounting in Hollywood. No movie has ever made a profit in Hollywood. You want the points off the top, okay? And then often there's tiered points. You get a certain percentage up to a certain box office, then when it hits another level of the box office, you get more. So it incentivizes you to advertise the movie and to do the publicity, because the more money it makes, the more money you're going to make. And so Margot Robbie got all the way up to $50 million, but then she tapped out at $50 million. That's as high as she could get. But Christopher Nolan got himself all the way to $100 million. He's like on, what is this, like his 8th or something movie? He's made a ton of movies at this point. It took him a while to get here. But it's really impressive. And I think that every other director in Hollywood's going to be like, to their agent, why aren't I making $100 million? So that's really going to be the Nolan effect. Because I think a lot of directors, before it was Steven Spielberg used to be in a class by himself. But I think that Christopher Nolan, while a legend, doesn't have that Steven Spielberg. Also, maybe just society today is less, we're not worthy than it used to be. So I think there are a lot of directors who would be like, heck, I made $1 billion movie. Where's my money? And they should, by the way. They should. The squeaky wheel gets the grease, or the profit participation. Giancarlo says Sean Connery was famous to audit all his movies because of the funny accounting in Hollywood. Yep, but these days it's not even worth it. You just take your money off the top. All right, so I also wanted to point out that Christopher Nolan was obviously was also benefited from the fact, as I said, that he was looking for a new home after leaving Warner Brothers because he was so upset how they handled the pandemic. So Christopher Nolan, good for him. He leveraged that situation and turned it into an enormous amount of money because Universal really wanted him. So he said, I want these points. And they were like, okay. And then always remember, if you're ever interested in being in the business, build in Oscar bonuses. I didn't even think of Oscar bonuses. That's fantastic. And that also goes to show you that while that company that I was talking to you about yesterday didn't care about whether the streaming content won awards, clearly Universal does. So they said, hey, we would like some Oscars too. So if you get some Oscars, we'll give you some more money. $25 million more, in fact. That's how almost $30 million more. No, like they said it was over $100 million. So that's like a $30 million bonus for 2 Oscars. That's how much Oscars were. That's amazing. They actually managed to put a price on Oscar wins. Big ones, though. Director and picture. That's worth $30 million to Universal. And I guess that's true because they can slap that on the poster and on the DVD and the streaming box, and just people will keep watching it, and it becomes more of a cachet for the studio. That's right, Danny, prestige. And it's just really, really interesting. It's just fascinating to understand this. And then, as I said, how will this affect future deals? Also, remember, it doesn't really, but it does mean that a movie needs to make more for the studio to feel it was worth it. This almost becomes part of the budget, right? Like, it's no problem for Oppenheimer, which made close to $1 billion, but you're like, dude, the studio is only getting a fraction. They have to give some to the theaters. They got to give some to all the talent. It starts to get divided up. So the movie has to make more and more and more. That's why streaming services like Netflix, they pay all the money up front. They pay they pay your bonuses up front because they don't want to talk about it. They've started to have to build in some bonuses because of the strikes, but for the most part, they just pay you up front at Netflix, which is why their paydays are ridiculous. Hey, Derek Parker. I don't believe that I've seen you comment before. Columbia MGM, 100 years. What favorite movies and shows from them? Yeah, that's nothing to do with what we're talking about, Derek. I mean, Ghostbusters, I guess. That's off the top of my head because, I appreciate your generosity, so I wanted to give you an answer. But please save those kind of questions for a little bit later in the stream. I'm sorry you are not interested in this story. All right, so let's move on. Oh, so anyway, Ryan Coogler, I think, is someone who recently negotiated a very interesting deal. He, remember, gets, after 25 years, I think it was, the rights for the IP go back to him from Warner Brothers for the franchise. So that was a very interesting recent deal. A lot of creative deals being met here, but I think you're going to see more directors asking for this kind of money. And it's really interesting. It's really interesting. It used to only be movie stars who got paid like this, and Steven Spielberg, for the most part. But I think now you're going to start seeing more paydays for directors, and who knows what other talent might eventually find themselves being able to get more. I think it's great. I think a lot of people are responsible for the success of a movie, and I think also, can they sell a ticket? Can a director sell a ticket on their own? And I think hopefully we'll get to a point where some writers can sell a ticket on their own. I would agree, Cool Hive. What directors do you guys think maybe could get a big payday? I think Villeneuve is definitely on his way. Oh yeah, Adam, I'll do Timmy C and Glenn Powell in just a moment. I'd like to see Greta Gerwig get here. But, she has to prove she's not just a one-hit wonder. Jordan Peele isn't making enough money yet to do this. You got to be somebody who brings in close to $1 billion consistently. The Russo brothers, although they have done horrible ever since they left Marvel. Oh yeah, well, I'm sure, we don't know what James Cameron's deal is, but he is extremely wealthy. I wouldn't worry about James Cameron. He kept it to himself. I agree, Ryan Coogler, yes. I would pick Ryan Coogler for this. Todd Phillips is interesting. Let's see, we'll see what happens with Joker 2. Hey, Aralysis, thanks for gifting a membership. James Gunn, Mr. Pompey. That's funny. He's getting so much money off of DC. He's doing great. Paul Thomas Anderson, Jen. That's crazy. What? Yeah, see, I don't know about Sean Levy. Sean Levy is an interesting one. If Deadpool Wolverine hits, then yes. No, not Tarantino thrills. His movies don't make enough money. I'm sure he's making a lot, but I wouldn't give him $100 million. It's a pretty short list, as you can see. Alex Garland, you guys are paying for creativity. That's not, Hollywood doesn't pay for that. They pay for people who can bring in $1 billion. All right, so let's talk about Timothy Chalamet and Glenn Powell. So we recently talked on Movie Math about the fact that Timothy Chalamet got $3 million for Dune Part 2. But it was revealed in this article, again by Variety, that he got $8 million for Wonka. Now, I think the reason his Dune 2 salary was so low is because it was probably built into his Dune 1 contract. A lot of times when you sign on for a movie that has sequels, they kind of usually sew you up for the next couple of movies with a built-in pay raise to try and keep the budget within reason. However, so I told you that story about Jennifer Lawrence, who simply didn't show up to set and said, I want more money. I don't care. I don't care what she said. She didn't care what deal she signed. And so they had to give her more money. But $8 million for Wonka is incredible. I got to tell you, I never would have paid him $8 million for Wonka. Or I guess I would have, but very begrudgingly. I mean, after Wonka, yes. Because after Wonka, now here are the two other interesting things they said about Timothy Chalamet. He's got no Dune 3 contract. How did that happen? How did that happen? He's going to get paid so much money for Dune 3. I mean, Dune 3 is not even at $400 million yet, so I wouldn't pay him like a ton of money, but they said that his asking point has gone into double digits, which means 10 or above. That makes sense to me for Timmy. I mean, maybe not for another movie. That's the thing. For Wonka 2 and Dune 3, definitely double digits. But for an original idea, I'm not giving him, maybe I'd give him 10. I mean, I don't know. He's in a very strong position right now with Wonka and Dune 2. Save your money, Timmy. These paychecks might not last forever. But right now, yeah, I would agree, Ashaman. I'd give him, I think if I were his team, I'd ask for 20, maybe not 20 million. You know what? I agree with actually John Daniel right below you. I'd go for 12 million for Dune 3, and then I'd want points. I mean, I don't know how big the points would be, although let me see the Dune 3 script. I was looking into Dune 3, and it's not that sexy a story right now. I mean, let's see what they do with it. So, considering that the Dune movies don't get to as high as $1 billion, maybe I do want my money up front. I'd start the bidding at 20, and then assume I would get down somewhere to around 15. I'd be like, Timmy, we're going in with 20. You're probably going to walk out with 15, or maybe 12. But it'll be double digits. I mean, that's incredible. Timothy Chalamet being a double-digit performer. Who would have ever thought it? I certainly wouldn't have, but I think after these last two movies, he's worth it. Then Glenn Powell is already getting $5 million. That's insane to me. I'd be like, did you not see that the Hitman movie went directly to Netflix, straight to streaming? I'm not giving you $5 million. No way in hell am I giving you 5. I mean, here's the thing. Who drives these prices? The team. That's why you give your agent and manager a percentage of your salary. Because, Glenn Powell can't ask a studio to give him $5 million. But his agent and manager can. And they say, look how well anyone but you did. And I'll be like, not 5. I'm not giving him $5 million. That's right, Adam Byers. You bring up Twisters, and he better get a $5 million paycheck before Twisters opens. If I were him and his team, I'd be like, you got to sign on for some movie for $5 million because I'm a little worried about Twister. We'll see. I think Twister could be pretty good. But if I were his team, I would be worried about Twister. I'd be like, I don't know how it's going to do. So let's just try and get you this payday so we can lock you in at someone who gets $5 million. Hey, Vera. It's always so nice to see you, Vera. But yeah. I don't think Glenn Powell's worth $5 million at all. I'd put him down at 3. I think after Anyone But You, he could ask for 3. I'd be like, you want me to pay you more than Timmy Chalamet got for Dune 2? What? Wandering Seth says, I don't care how 10 megawatt your smile is. Wandering Seth says, in the last week I've watched both new Dune films, the 1984 film and both miniseries. That's a lot of Dune. The only chance for Dune 3 is to combine the stories of books 2 and 3 like the second sci-fi miniseries did. Yeah, I would agree with that. If you got to put some Children of Dune in there, because that's when things get really interesting. You guys aren't interested in Twister? Really? Hey, Jacob Knight. Thanks for joining. All right, does anybody have any questions or comments about this story before we move on to the 3rd story of the day? And then ask me anything. Some of you are interested in Twisters. You guys are ready to move on. Okay. All right. Story number 3. Boom, baby. Huy Quan. I'm so happy for Huy Quan. This is a movie that he actually, in fact, apparently was announced a little bit a while ago, but the reason it's in the news today is that it got a release date. So after Everything Everywhere All at Once, everybody, of course, fell in love, or back in love, with Huy Quan, who, of course, had been very famous as Short Round in the Indiana Jones movie Temple of Doom, and then in the Goonies. But he couldn't get any work, so he had gone back to the filmmaking world in Asia, but then, of course, was brought back with Everything Everywhere All at Once. Then he was in Loki, where I think he really made an impression, but it didn't really go anywhere. And he started to seem, I think, a little bit one note. I think everybody was just like, return to Short Round? That's kind of what everybody was thinking about. But then it was announced that he was going to do a movie called With Love for 87 North. What's 87 North? That is Chad Stahelski and David Leitch's production company, the John Wick guys. And they're, of course, behind the Nobody movie with Bob Odenkirk and Violent Night with David Harbour as Santa Claus. And by the way, both those movies are getting sequels as well. CM, a Short Round Disney Plus show. I think we might have discussed that before, actually, now that you bring it up. That's a great idea. So anyway, it's going to be this action movie. Now, the thing to me is the most interesting is that's right, Sockley, you beat me to it. Don't forget, he was the fight coordinator on the first X-Men movie. There he is with Hugh Jackman and the stunt double. That stunt double looks ridiculously like Hugh Jackman. I mean, that's ridiculous. You're like, what? And there, of course, is Huy Quan there working it out. So I think it's awesome. And, of course, he used those abilities in Everything Everywhere All at Once. Although I personally didn't think the fighting in Everywhere All at Once was that impressive. But, you know, that's not Huy Quan's fault. But, yeah. So Huy Quan is going to star in this movie. I think it's going to be really cool that he's going to be getting back into that space with these really strong professionals. Oh, that's right. Who said that? Little Baby Pizza. That's right. That's a Wolverine variant. That's fantastic. I love it. Stunt doubles are variants. I think that would be great. Stunt doubles should play around with that. That's hilarious. And then also this is going to be, so it's Universal, which has a deal with 87 North, is going to distribute. And they've set this movie for February 2025. So that's actually coming up. That's coming up, actually. You know, that's a little less than a year from now. So that's exciting. By Albert Diaz. And then what's interesting also is that Jonathan Eusebio is going to do his directorial debut. He is a stunt coordinator and fight coordinator who works on a lot of the 87 North projects. He's also apparently done some second unit directing. But this to me is very exciting because, of course, Sam Hargrave came out of stunt work as well and to become an incredible director on the Extraction movies. I don't know why he doesn't get more directing work. He's got like 2 little projects coming up, but I think that Sam Hargrave would get more work. But oh well. So this is very exciting to me. And you know, Huy Quan could always maybe kind of move into directing at some point too. He's got a lot of options. But I am very excited about this. I think it's interesting to see an Oscar winner do this. But I don't really know. I think this, you know, Huy Quan he's somebody who has to make his own opportunities. You know, I think I think when he starts out, he's going to be stunt work very quickly. You know, I mean, he's going to be stunt casting. You know, at first, you know, everybody's like, oh yeah, we love Huy Quan because he's so specific in his on-screen persona. So that makes him stand out, but it also doesn't give him a lot of range. Although I have to say, in Everything Everywhere All at Once, you know, he had to play different variants in that movie. And he had a lot of range, you know, when he was the very serious guy, when they were like in the Hollywood reality. I was like, wow, he really quieted down really well. So, you know, maybe he can show that off in this movie a little bit. But let's see. I like him a lot. I'm a big fan of Huy Quan, although I do want to see Short Round return. But I think this is a great idea. So I just wanted to mention it. I needed a third story of the day. All right. So anybody have any questions or comments about this story before we move on to the Ask Me Anything? Oh yeah, Kevin Cisneros. I didn't hear about Scarlett Johansson being offered the lead in the Jurassic movie, but that was widely reported. I think if it's true, it's a good idea. I mean, she should definitely take that. I mean, you kind of have to. How could you not take that on? Hey, why? All right, I think you guys are ready for the Ask Me Anything portion of the stream. All right, here we go. Booyah! Oh no, where'd it go? There it is. Booyah! All right, you can ask me anything you'd like for 10 minutes. It's 6:15. Oh, that makes it easy. Anything you'd like till 6:25. I may or may not answer it. Oh, Stardust 490 says, how did you become a Jimmy Stewart fan? Watching his movies when I was growing up, and I just thought he seemed like a swell guy. I was like, what a swell guy. I love him. So I would highly recommend checking out his films. I don't love his Westerns, but his earlier work all the way through like his heyday, like Rear Window, of course, being one of my favorite movies, if not my favorite movie. I just really think I just like Jimmy Stewart. I like his vibe, again, as I said. Isaac Lopez says, what the heck are points? They're percentage points. So if you get 5 points of the gross, that means you get 5%. That's what points are. David Q says, hi Grace, so today is Pie Day, so we celebrated at work with pizza and regular sweet pies. What is your favorite pie? I enjoy key lime pie since it's not so sweet and a bit tart. Well, I do love pizza. I can't eat this stuff anymore, really, but I do love pizza, obviously. And as for pie, I like pecan pie, pumpkin pie, I think, and cherry pie are my favorites. Chocolate cream pie is also delicious. Pie's pretty good. Hard to mess up pie. Tammy, how have you never seen a Jurassic movie? They're incredible. Hey, Brandon Ferretti. The Moon says, Grace, do you see Star Wars adjusting their offerings based on Dune's success? No, I don't. Because why do they want to compete on Dune's level? Let Dune be Dune and Star Wars be more commercial. I gotta tell you, I think this Mandalorian and Grogu movie is a really good idea. I feel if I were Star Wars, I'd be feeling pretty good about it. And also the Dave Filoni movie. I think they can feel pretty good. Devin Henderson says, which X-Men arc do you hope the MCU tackles first? That's a really tough question, Devin, because I feel the X-Men stories have been done so often that I think it's hard. I would almost like them to just do a new story, although that's so hard. Munchie Ice says, are managers and agents generally expensive to have? They are not at all expensive, and if they are asking you for money up front, they are a scam. Agents and managers take a percentage of the work that they get you. Typically 5 to 10%. It's usually about 10%. Thank you, WeC, for gifting those memberships. Oh, thanks, Wiki Nomad. I'm glad you guys like the lighting. I think a lot of it also is the new camera. It's much more light sensitive than my old camera, which is helping. Mr. Poppy, you gifted a membership. Very nice of you. CM says, Grace, did you see Harold in the Purple Crayon posters? Looks like Free Guy, but bad. I took one look at Zachary Levi and I said, I'm out of here. Peace out. That producer is probably feeling real bad. They're like, why? Why did you do it, man? Hunter Smith says, Grace, would you ever revisit La La Land? Nope. I hate that movie. I mean, I respect it. I understand that it won a lot of awards, but I just have horrible problems with it. Your little brother Gabriel says, Grace, will you review Irish Wish? I am not reviewing Irish Wish. Let's see here. Sensation says, is that natural light that you're using for your background? Well, yes, there's no light behind me. I have two lights in front of me, a ring light, which you can now kind of see. There it is. And then also there's a light above it, which is also putting some light. But, you know, I am at the mercy of the sun behind me. Carson Johnson says, I saw on Twitter a Lily Gladstone fan cast as Wonder Woman. What do you think of that idea? I wouldn't cast Lily Gladstone as Wonder Woman, but having her as someone in Themyscira is an excellent idea. I like that idea a lot. Or if they were doing Wonder Woman variants, maybe I could see that. Let's see here. Stibbity says, do you think that Huy Quan could move into something like directing Mandalorian episodes? Well, I gotta tell you, I suspect that Huy Quan has been behind the camera for a really long time, and I think right now he just wants to focus on being in front of the camera. But I'm sure eventually, when that starts to peter out, if it does, he'll go back behind the camera at some point. But I think that's a while off for him doing that. Rouge Art Studio says, would Tom Cruise win an Oscar for stunt work if they started getting Oscars? I wouldn't want to see him be the only one to win the stunt Oscar, but since he works so hard to coordinate his stunts, I would think he would be part of, I would think, usually the rule is up to 3 or 4 people per category to win. And so I think he would be one of the 3, probably. Let's see here. Stephen Turner says, did you see the full confirmed cast of the new Ari Aster film? Yeah, I saw. I'm glad. I'm glad everybody's getting work. Hey, the Fonz 25. I'm glad you got in there. Kareem, why would you think I wouldn't like pumpkin or pecan pie? I love my Thanksgiving pies. I made an amazing pumpkin pecan pie a few years ago. I was very proud of myself. Hey, Troy. Dwight Baldwin says Star Trek to be bought by Warner Brothers. Did you see that somewhere? I mean, I know the Warner Brothers Paramount deal fell through. Jander, thank you for gifting a membership there. Oh my goodness, I'm a little behind here. Hold on. Sock Lee says, so Fantastic Four will be in the MCU before X-Men? Yeah, well, I don't know. I mean, I think there's some... Let's just see what happens in Deadpool and Wolverine. Gwen D says, have you watched the recent Shogun episode? I told you I've only watched 1 episode of Shogun. I got other stuff to do. No, one person in my group doesn't like Shogun, so that turned off everybody else from watching it because we were waiting for them to continue, and then they were like, they didn't like it. So now we're all like just adrift, and it's like, and they all, and also, again, they were so stupid. They were like, we're not making Shogun season 2. So I'm like, well then what I got other stuff to do, man. I got all the Ripley screeners. I want to watch Ripley. Let's see here. I might review it. Although it's 8 episodes. I was like, that's a lot of black and white Ripley. That's a lot, man. Danny Dumphy says, hi, Grace. Love the look today. Thank you. Any thoughts on the news that Iron Fist will be in Shang-Chi 2? Perhaps casting? I thought Finn Jones was great. He beat me in Mortal Kombat once. That's great. That's awesome. Who would you cast? Well, I don't know. I liked, there were some really good ideas when Iron Fist came out of how to kind of do like an Asian actor, but make him American Asian, so that he's still not part of the traditions of where he gets his powers from. There are some really interesting ways to handle it. I don't know. I mean, like, I thought that season 2 of Iron Fist was great, and that gave us Tom Delpre. That's where I first saw him. I was like, I love this guy. Not enough to totally remember his name, but I didn't hear anything about that. But I mean that's an okay idea. Jareem says, have you noticed rewatching Barbie how many similarities it has to The Matrix? Oh, do you think so? Maybe a little. I don't know about that. But that's a fun theory. Leroy says, what's the thing that turns you off most in a movie? Fake out endings, unless it's like, it has to be really well done. The "it was all a dream" thing is really super annoying to me. Michael says, just shouting out Shogun. Episode 4 has all the crowd pleasing romance and betrayal of any Game of Thrones episode. I don't doubt that it's fantastic, but, no one's talking about it. No one's watching it. Lord Baratheon says, what do you think the budget is for Deadpool and Wolverine? A lot of money. Poor Ryan Reynolds. The leaks are insane for that. I'm really upset about some of the leaks. Let's see here. Jack, I haven't seen Godzilla -1. I was hoping to do a watch along if they ever release it on digital. Jason says, what kind of computer did you get, and how is it having something new? I love it! It was scary, and I'm still learning how to totally use it. But I'm very quickly learning how to use the new... I didn't upgrade my Premiere Pro for a really long time because I didn't want to learn the new stuff. But now I had to. So I upgraded my Premiere Pro, and I've been learning how to use the graphics in it, and it's getting much easier. So I'm loving it. It's like all new things. I don't want to do it. I get scared. Then you have to force yourself to jump, and you're like, what was I worried about? It's amazing. It was worth the investment. Thank goodness for tax write-offs, because it's for business. Let's see here. Will, I have not seen Young Royals, I'm afraid. David Kosier says, Lindsay Lohan is having a major Hollywood return. Is she, or is she just promoting Irish Wish? I'm excited for her to do another Freaky Friday, and I'm kind of into Irish Wish, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. Topher says, should I wait to binge Invincible, or is it a week-to-week just too good to wait? I'd wait to binge it, Topher, unless people start talking about it. But it was a great binge. And so if no one's going to talk about it, just wait the 4 weeks and binge it. You can watch it in a day. It's really good. Blair, you haven't been blocked. I'm not sure why you can't send super chats. It might be the word that you're using. Some words are blocked. I gotta be careful. Let's see here. Oh, Olivia, I'm glad you liked my shade that I was casting there. I'm glad you liked it. Let's see here. Maria says, I think that they need 2 categories for stunts, performer and design core. I would not give a stunt performer Oscar. I would not do that. I just wouldn't. I think there could be stunt awards. Stunts could have their own awards show. But for the Oscars, I would do it with the coordinator and in that regard. I guess I'd say you could include a stunt performer if you want, and I'd maybe put it up to 4 people. But I don't know. How do you not help? What about all the other stunt performers? I think the idea of singling out a stunt performer, and I think that's going to be tricky for Hollywood because you're basically saying, these stunt performers look very similar to the actors that they're doubling. So is everyone going to be like, it's a variant on Chris Evans or Chris Hemsworth or Tom Cruise? And I think that would make the actor very uncomfortable. Mandalorian Ace says, what superhero movie TV show should Cord Jefferson do? I don't know. I think Cord Jefferson should do a bigger drama first, or like dramedy, like American Fiction. I don't think he's ready for superhero work. Heather, what's chocolate chess pie? I've never even heard of chocolate chess pie. I think I vaguely have heard of it, but I don't even know what that is. Pearl, I will be reviewing X-Men, and I promise I'm going to do it because I'm going to do it this week. So I'm definitely, or at least I'm going to do the groundwork so that I'm ready to go. Isaac says, hi Grace, I'm currently in the process of writing my first script. Do you have any advice on how to get the script out there once it's completed? As I've said before, there are competitions that you can enter. That's the best way. Try to get on the blacklist, try to get into screenwriting programs with film festivals. That's how you can get your work seen. Very few places will take a blind submission, which means that they don't know you, that there's no one who, you really need someone to vouch for you. Glubby Snot, I got to figure out how to do 1080 live stream. I got to figure out how to do that. I'm not quite sure. Maybe it's the way that I set it up. Maybe it's the way that I'm streaming it. What do the settings say? I'm not quite sure how to do it. Oh, video. It says I'm in 1080. Oh, output. Oh, there's the output. Okay, next time I'll do it in 1080. So I just got to look. I just have to look. Yeah, I'm way over the time. I got to get going. All right. Let me do some shout outs. All right, what's everybody up to? What are you doing? Thank you for gifting a membership, Stephen. Oh, 80s model. Thank you for gifting a membership. I'm sorry I missed some of your questions. I apologize about that. What are you up to so I can just say hi to some people? Sensation says, chowing down on a Philly cheesesteak sub sandwich. Delicious. iHeart Movies is in Ohio playing Fortnite while AJ's hanging out with their cute new puppy. I love it, AJ. Mark Burns has 3 more days of vacation while Hunter Smith is eating a salmon Caesar salad in Philly. That sounds delicious and very healthy. Maria says, have a good day. You too, Maria. Heather S. is relaxing before work on Friday while Alberto is eating an acai bowl after his workout. Oh, you're vibing all over the place. I love it. Jennifer Escalona. Hi, Jennifer. Says, chilling at home waiting for the Eras tour on Disney tonight. Oh, does Taylor Swift drop tonight? That's going to be big. Sockley says, shout out to Shogun. Watch it. Matt says, coming at you from rainy Michigan. Hey, Matt. Vera says, thinking about what you eat. It's very important, Vera. I'm shocked how food has just kind of become to some degree sustenance. I mean, it's not as much fun, but it makes such a big difference in your health. Danny says, getting ready for early dinner in Guatemala. Oh, that sounds great. Leroy says, slowly recuperating from my heart attack, cooking breakfast for dinner. Oh, Leroy, I'm glad you're recovering. I'm glad you're taking care of yourself. I'm glad you're doing it slowly. David says, sleepy after all the carbs at work. Well, it was pie day, David. But you have to do laundry, do you, David? I think laundry can wait. Claritza Bell, oh, hi! Says, celebrating World Kidney Day. That's an interesting day. Are we celebrating the food or the body part? Or both? Mark Burns, hey, thank you for gifting a membership. Well, CM says, at my aunt's in Arkansas, drinking a Diet Coke. I was in Arkansas once. I was in Little Rock. Bingeville says, new X-Men comic lineup. I got to tell you, the X-Men comics, they've been unreadable for so long. I'm nervous about it. Jason Wood says, I can't stop looking at how awesome this new setup is. Thanks, Jason. You make me feel better about it. I appreciate that. Hey, TR Nunley. KP Production says, in windy LA, about to work on some scripts. Oh, good for you. And Matthew says, working in Australia, just jumped on to say hi. Hello. Have a great rest of your day, Grace. Thank you. All right, everybody. I must go. I must be gone. Thank you so much. This is the last live stream of the week. I'll see you soon. Maybe some videos coming up, but definitely movie math on Sunday. All right, everybody. Bye. Bye.